Tonight, the developing stories as we come on. High-stakes invite. President Trump's surprise offer to meet for a handshake with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, even suggesting he'd do something no U.S. president has ever done before. The risk he's taking on the international stage. Will Kim show up? Air emergency, the terrifying moments on board a United flight, mechanical problems on takeoff, the blown tires during landing, passengers escaping on slides, that major airport temporarily shut down. Accused mastermind arrested in connection with that violent shooting of Red Sox legend David Ortiz, and who police are hunting for now. Miscarriage, manslaughter, the uproar in Alabama, prosecutors considering charging a pregnant woman who was shot with a crime for losing her fetus. Grim discovery, new details emerging in the kidnapping and murder of a 23-year-old college student in Utah. What investigators say they've uncovered. 9/11 hero's legacy, the beloved Ground Zero first responder losing his long battle with cancer just after standing shoulder to shoulder with Jon Stewart, imploring Congress to save other first responders. Plus, America's favorite pastime meets the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, rolling out the red carpet across the pond for the Yanks and Red Sox.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson, in for Tom Yamas. We begin tonight with President Trump's high-stakes roll of the dice. The president in South Korea on that high-profile Asia trip, but tweeting a surprise invitation to North Korea's dictator, Kim Jong-un, to swing by the DMZ for a handshake, the offer coming after their last rocky meeting in Vietnam. The president scheduled to enter the DMZ in just hours. If he steps foot on North Korean soil, he'll be the first commander-in-chief to do so. The big question tonight, will they meet? ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl traveling with the president, starting us off tonight.
Several hours ago, President Trump arrived in South Korea with one question on everybody's mind.
Thank you. Going to be very interesting.
It was just 24 hours ago that President Trump made the surprise invitation with a tweet. If Chairman Kim of North Korea sees this, I would meet him at the border, DMZ, just to shake his hand and say hello. This would be a short meeting, not a full-blown summit. At a press conference in Japan, President Trump sounded optimistic that the North Korean dictator would accept his invitation.
I said, well, I'm there. I'll shake his hand. We get along, and a lot of good things are happening over there. So I let him know we'll be there, and we'll see.
It would be the first meeting of the two leaders since their summit meeting in Vietnam broke down without any agreement in February.
Sometimes you have to walk.
But communications between the two sides have continued. Just last week, this image in the North Korean media, Kim reading a letter from President Trump himself. And now, the president is saying he would even be willing to make the symbolic gesture of stepping over the line and onto North Korean soil, something no other U.S. president has ever done.
Sure, I'd feel very comfortable doing that.
But what if Kim Jong-un snubs this high-profile, high-stakes invitation from the President of the United States?
Will it be a bad sign if he doesn't show up?
No, of course I thought of that, because I know if he didn't, everybody's going to say, oh, he was stood up by Chairman Kim. No, I understood that. It's very hard to, he follows my Twitter. And
he does.
It's very hard, yeah,
he follows
I guess so, because we got a call very quickly.
Okay.
A lot of people follow it, but you know, they've contacted us and they'd like to see if they could do so. And we're not talking about for, you know, extended, just a quick hello.
Just a quick hello, the president says there. Jonathan Karl joining us live from Seoul. And John, you've been traveling with the president on this Asia trip, watching this all unfold. The president's visit to the DMZ just hours away now. Can you give us a sense of what's going on behind the scenes as we await Kim's response?
Well, quite a bit, Whit. In fact, even before the president left on this trip, I was told that a meeting was a possibility. Now, just a short while ago, a senior U.S. official tells ABC News that all three countries that would be involved, South Korea, North Korea, and the United States, have been talking, making preparations for a possible visit. That said, we still don't know if it is going to happen. Whit?
A developing situation. We know you'll stay on top of it. John Karl, thank you. Now to the major scare in the air for passengers on board a United flight. That plane towed off the runway tonight after experiencing mechanical problems on takeoff, blowing tires on landing. At least 13 passengers injured. ABC's Diane Macedo reporting from Newark Airport tonight.
Tonight, a United Airlines flight forced to make an emergency landing after experiencing a problem with its hydraulics just after takeoff.
We do have emergency coming in. I'm not sure what runway you need.
United Airlines Flight 2098 departed from New York's LaGuardia Airport en route to Houston. The crew on the Airbus A319 soon after reported a brake problem, with the pilot asking to divert to Newark Airport.
2098, any assistance you need, you let me know.
The plane blew out 2 left main tires upon landing.
Do you anticipate any problem getting off the runway?
We don't anticipate any, but can you have the truck standing by?
Oh, yeah, they're already standing by, sir.
The incident shut down the airport for almost an hour. A United Airlines spokesperson tells ABC News, our pilots reacted quickly to ensure the safety of the aircraft and our customers who deplaned using deployed slides after landing. Officials say 13 passengers reported minor injuries but required no additional medical attention.
Thankfully, just minor injuries there. Diane Macedo joining us from Newark. And Diane, the headaches at the airport, they're still ongoing several hours after this incident.
They are. The big issue now is this backlog of hundreds of delayed flights, and the airport now says thunderstorms could make that worse. The good news is those passengers on that diverted plane have reached their destination. Whit?
All right, Diane, thank you very much. Now to the Dominican Republic and the new arrest in the violent shooting of former Red Sox star David Ortiz. Police saying the mastermind in that attack is now in custody. The search still on for another suspect known as the Surgeon. ABC's Ariel Reshef with the latest.
Tonight, these 2 former fugitives under arrest, accused in the shooting of Boston Red Sox legend David Ortiz. Victor Hugo Gomez, a convicted drug trafficker suspected to be one of the masterminds of the brutal June 9th attack, allegedly ordering a lethal hit on his own cousin. But the gunman mistakenly firing at Ortiz, a bullet piercing his back, critically wounding the 43-year-old slugger.
Won't you please join us as we offer a moment of reflection?
With authorities on his trail, Gomez recording this video saying he feared for his life. His family now claiming he's the subject of a setup.
They have used him as an scapegoat to protect someone that's very high up politically.
The second suspect, Alberto Rodriguez Mota, picked up at sea by the Dominican Navy as officials say he attempted to cross into Puerto Rico to evade Dominican justice. Dominican police say he is the man seen here in this surveillance video, standing calmly after Ortiz goes down, grabbing his beer, hardly flinching as others take off running. Tonight, officials still on the hunt for a third suspect, dubbed the Surgeon.
And that third suspect is wanted here in the United States. Dominican officials have requested assistance from U.S. federal authorities in tracking him down. Tonight, we do know Ortiz is still in the hospital in good condition. Whit, his wife, says he's on the road to recovery.
Certainly encouraging news. Ariel, thank you. Next to the growing controversy back here at home in Alabama, a pregnant woman shot in the stomach, now facing possible manslaughter charges for the death of her fetus. The shooter not charged in this case. Critics calling it a cruel and dangerous new step by the state to criminalize pregnancy. More from ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, prosecutors in Alabama are trying to decide whether to move forward with a grand jury indictment against this woman, Marshae Jones, who miscarried after she was shot in the stomach during a fight in the parking lot of a Dollar General store. Jones, who according to her attorney has no past criminal history, is now facing a manslaughter charge. The indictment says she allegedly caused the death by initiating a fight knowing she was 5 months pregnant. Birmingham authorities say the fight back in December of 2018 stemmed over the fetus's father. But a grand jury determined the woman who fired those shots acted in self-defense and did not warrant charges against her, despite Jones being unarmed. Planned Parenthood is now weighing in, asking the district attorney to drop the charges against Jones immediately, saying prosecuting someone for being the victim of a violent crime is not only alarming, it's proof that Alabama will continue to target black pregnant people with their laws.
The district attorney's office says they have not made a determination about whether to prosecute this as a manslaughter case, reduce it to a lesser charge, or not prosecute at all. Jones, who was taken into custody this week, is now out on a $50,000 bond. Whit.
Stephanie Ramos, our thanks to you tonight. To politics now and the shifting momentum in the 2020 presidential race with the first Democratic debates in the rearview mirror. Elizabeth Warren bringing supporters to their feet today in Chicago. Kamala Harris riding the attention following Thursday night's showdown with former Vice President Joe Biden. But South Bend's Mayor Pete back home again, addressing ongoing tensions there. ABC's Rachel Scott covering it all from Chicago tonight.
Tonight, the Democratic candidates for president in an all-out push, trying to seize on momentum from that first debate or put it behind them. Senator Elizabeth Warren bringing her pitch to a black church on the south side of Chicago.
This country is in a time of crisis.
And bringing the crowd to its feet.
Do you think support for Senator Warren is growing in the black community?
Listening to some of the people out here when I walked out, I was surprised to hear it is.
She had my vote from the very beginning. I asked her about one of her signature plans, universal health insurance.
Under your health care proposal, how much will the average middle-class voter pay in taxes?
The senator did not give a number.
We are paying now. We need to pay in a different way. No one should go bankrupt just because they get sick.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg back in South Bend after that contentious town hall.
Get the racists off the streets.
Stepping off the trail again to confront the tensions in his community after the fatal shooting of a black man by a white police officer. Today, that man, Eric Logan, laid to rest.
Well, this is my home, but also these issues can't be separated. The challenge we face here in South Bend is symptomatic of a national challenge.
He's not the only candidate defending his record on race. Joe Biden taking heat from Senator Kamala Harris on his opposition in the 70s to federally ordered busing to integrate public schools.
And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Tonight, Biden getting support from an unlikely source, President Trump.
I think she was given too much credit for what she did. Wasn't that outstanding? And I think probably he was hit harder than he should have been hit, Biden.
Rachel Scott has been tracking it all from Chicago. And Rachel, you're learning Senator Harris is trying to capitalize on her debate performance.
Exactly, Whit. Senator Harris is cashing in on the momentum. Her campaign says they raised $2 million in the first 24 hours following those debates. The question now is whether that extra money turns into lasting support. Whit?
Rachel Scott in Chicago, thanks so much. And this programming note, be sure to tune in tomorrow morning to This Week when George goes one-on-one with candidates Julian Castro and Senator Bernie Sanders. Next, the farewell to a champion for 9/11 first responders, former Detective Luis Alvarez, how he was in better days right there on the left, losing his long battle with colon cancer after helping at ground zero following the September 11th attacks, going into hospice right after testifying beside fellow advocate Jon Stewart at emotional Washington hearings. One of his final acts, again making the case to extend first responder health benefits. Here's ABC White House correspondent Tara Palmieri.
Detective Luis Alvarez spent 3 months searching for survivors in the ruins of the World Trade Center. Today, succumbing to the cancer he contracted from the toxic rubble on the pile, Alvarez fought to the very end for health care for his fellow responders.
We are all worried about our children and spouses and our families if we are not here. You all said you would never forget. Well, I'm here to make sure that you don't.
Just 2 weeks ago, Alvarez was back on Capitol Hill to extend benefits for the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. He stood side by side with vocal defender Jon Stewart.
They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs. 18 years later, do yours.
Stewart chastising Congress to act before the fund runs out. Future payouts are in danger of being slashed by 70%.
Your indifference costs these men and women their most valuable commodity, time. It's the one thing they're running out of.
His last testimony to Congress the day before his 69th round of chemo.
It is my goal And it is my legacy to see that you do the right thing for all 97 9/11 responders.
Tonight, the father of three being memorialized by the NYPD, saying he exemplified their motto, faithful unto death. Under current law, the fund is expected to stop taking claims in December 2020. After this month's emotional testimony, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told the victims that he will try to pass a bill to reauthorize the funds in August. Whit?
All right, Tara Palmieri, thank you. Now to the severe weather moving through the Northeast. Strong storms with high winds and heavy rain already knocking down trees in northwestern Alabama. Those storms helping some places cool off a little bit from the sizzling summer heat. ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano joining us now from New York Central Park with the forecast. Rob.
Hi, Whit. We hit 90-plus degrees here in Central Park. That only fueled the storms that rolled through just about an hour ago. Damage reports across parts of Rhode Island, eastern Massachusetts, eastern Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Here you can see that line of storms on the radar scope. Still a severe thunderstorm watch up, but that'll likely be dropped as this front makes its move to the east. Some residual storms later on tonight, more garden variety and some wraparound tomorrow, but less humid and cooler for the Northeast, at least for a day. Elsewhere, that's not the case. 90s again, D.C., Louisville, St. Louis, and heat advisories up for parts of the Corn Belt. Heat warning up for Minneapolis. Dangerous heat, not even into July. Whit.
All right, Rob, we know you'll be tracking it all. Thank you. Now to the gay pride celebrations getting underway across the country and around the world. Many gathering this weekend at the human rights flashpoint 50 years ago. New York's Stonewall Inn, a violent riot at the famous bar changing history. And join us tomorrow for special live streaming coverage of the Pride celebrations. ABC News Live, our digital channel, at the New York City Pride March. That's beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern, available on all of your devices. Back now with the stunning new details in the kidnap and murder of a Utah college student. The dramatic arrest, a grim discovery, and tonight, the strange home projects the suspect allegedly wanted to build. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
Tonight, the man charged with murdering 23-year-old Mackenzie Lewick is behind bars in Utah as chilling new details surface.
Something out of a movie. It's mind-blowing.
Contractor Brian Wolf says the suspect, Ayula Ajahi, called him to this house 3 months ago with an unusual request.
I started asking me about building this secret door and even more stuff like making it soundproof, a thumbprint lock on it, hooks on the walls, just weird stuff.
Wolf says he turned down the job and was horrified to learn about the discovery police say they made in this yard Wednesday.
Charred material was located, which has now been determined to be female human tissue.
After 11 days of searching for Lewick, police say cell phone records and tips led them to Ajahi, the SWAT team taking the 31-year-old into custody. Investigators now going through a digital trail of text messages, social media, and dating apps, trying to piece together a motive and how Ajahi and the beloved University of Utah student knew each other. Ajahi has not yet entered a plea and is being held without bail. Tonight, police say they're still trying to figure out whether he acted alone. Whit?
Marcy Gonzalez, thank you. Time now for our index on the disturbing subway assault in New York City caught on camera. Two teenagers pummeling a stranger on the platform, stomping his head on the pavement as bystanders looked on. An argument apparently sparking it all. The victim now recovering in the hospital. Those suspects now on the run. Police are asking for your help to track them down. The dramatic rescue off the coast of North Carolina. The Coast Guard rushing out to save a 44-year-old man from Chesapeake Bay. There you see hoisting him from the water after he became too ill to navigate or anchor his boat and called for help. Medevac crews and rescue swimmers teaming up to airlift him to safety. And overseas, America's favorite pastime and a royal matchmaking history. The Yankees and Red Sox facing off in London for the first time ever. Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan Markle making a surprise appearance, keeping up with diplomacy. The royal couple visited both teams and baby Archie, getting both New York and Boston swag. When we finally tonight, America's strong. Their motto says, come snow or rain, they stick it out. And in this emergency, he went above and beyond. A life-saving delivery. Mae Walls says her mail carrier, Mark Palmer, is the reason she's here today. In March, a freak accident sent her tumbling down her front steps.
I was falling, and the next thing I knew, I was at the bottom of the steps, and I knew I was in trouble.
The 79-year-old was bleeding and it wouldn't stop.
I was frightened and I was screaming and yelling for anybody.
Just at that moment, Palmer was delivering mail at the end of her street.
She threw her hands up and just asked me to come help her.
He immediately ran to her side and called 911.
It was a blessing for me to be here at that time because she would have bled to death.
I think he's a hero.
This week, as Walls still recovers at home, the two met again at the top of those same stairs.
You know, you saved my life. You'll always be my friend.
A freak accident leading to a lifelong friendship. Our thanks to May and Mark for sharing that story. And we thank you for watching tonight. I'm Whit Johnson in New York, GMA, and This Week in the morning. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a good evening.